And you're going to be able to practice it today as we go into this practical experience of evaluating to elevate. Just as a reminder to take into this session, make it about the speaker, not about you. Make it about the speech, not always about the content. Look for their message so you can use it in your introduction. Don't get caught on the content, focus on how they delivered. You're only going to be able to do 3 to 4 points and give them clear and useful feedback on those points. Rather strengthen a few things than try to speak about a lot of things. Always follow the format of strengths, areas to improve with suggestions and a summary, and look for phrases or ideas in their speech that are going to help you close powerfully. And to help you do that and to make sure you capture your thoughts, please use this template. I know you've got it in the chat, or you can have written up your own one, but I really hope it's going to help the way you listen, the way you analytically capture what's working and what could improve. And so that when you give your feedback, it's a pleasure for them to receive, and you know that you have elevated their skills to another level. Okay, let's get into this.
With that, I would like to reintroduce our Toastmaster of the day, Alex.
Thank you, JP. Thank you, Morag. Thank you, Verity, as well. Really appreciate all of you being here today. Now, have our evaluators come back into the room.
Yes, they have. Everyone's here.
All right. Thank you, AJ. So we're going to have each one of our evaluators come in real quick and give us a 2 to 3 minute evaluation. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity to hear everyone. So we're going to ask that each evaluator, while using the framework, keeps yourselves to 3 minutes, and Jill will be up there in that corner timing. So we have 9 folks lined up, and our very first one is from Peak Performance here in District 26, Dorota Ochekluk.
Dear fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, dear Morag, thank you very much for your wonderful, very touching speech. Portobello Beach, is it a promise of a lifelong journey or unspoken promises which will remain always silent? That's the question which you addressed in a wonderful, very touching manner. What touched me in your manner, in your speech, in the content? Let me command, first of all, your imaginary, your addressing our all senses, our hearing, our sight, our smell, even our taste. You painted a landscape, a Portobello Beach, a beach in Scotland. You showed some images chronologically, but also you prepared that in a very sensual manner. I love the fact that you used contrast to present the happy and the sad, the young, the old, the ancient and the modern. That was very clear, and that made your story and your message very touching and very easy to follow. And what I loved most was your language, metaphors, descriptive style, similes, sweet aroma, of course, repetitions of the key phrases, unspoken promises here, the most importantly, I suppose. So these were the qualities which made me really touched and moved by your stories and your message. The areas which I find worth improving maybe a little bit, I was uncertain for some time what was your goal, what your specific purpose, because you started with a very long introduction, very descriptive. And I felt that it was maybe a little too long. So my suggestion is to shorten it, to really focus on these 2 stories, personal stories about Portobello Beach in your life, because there lies the emotion, the passion, the message as well. The other thing is vocal variety. I think you can play on pauses and your pitch even more. And that would make your closure even more powerful. So remember to keep your structure and your message very clear from the very beginning, and to use your vocal variety and pauses even more. And keep up sharing your personal stories with us. Embrace your portobello, your own portobello beach, happy and sad. That's the takeaway for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorota. Next is another member of Peak Performance here in District 26. Please help me welcome Chris Hutchinson.
Morag, I think that Morag means sun, and you enlighten me and everybody else here, but there has to be some magic there, because you magically transported me through space and time, through senses and emotions, to help me remember to live life fully. Your clear, distinct language was almost like a color silent movie at the beginning, where I saw the brown cattle in the distance. There was warm sand tickling my feet. I could smell the burnt candy in my nose. Then it went, oh my gosh, I'm using more senses than just my sight. I'm hearing bells ringing in my ears. So all that language and the way you distinctly and clearly pronounced it, and sort of brought in the vocal variety of the tone of your voice, completely transported me there. And I wanted to hang out on the beach the whole time until you showed up. When you showed up, I was really intrigued, because you had a stories of this beginning and this heartbreaking ending, and you tied the fire and the fireworks with your to-be husband and that warm embrace. So connected that and that start, and then the cold foreboding clouds that sort of foreshadowed that hope really wouldn't come to fruition. And so walking us through that motion was beautiful, and it sort of made me think about how I wanted to have more of those warm embraces, and how I would miss people when they were gone. I did want to ask you to stretch a little bit. I want to spend more time with you. I want to spend more time with you in those stories, perhaps some dialogue, perhaps a little hint as we're walking across the beach to meet you. What is that message? Maybe shorten the part a little bit so we can spend more time together. And I think even inviting the audience in directly, what does it feel like to hug your loved one? Something to connect me right in with you. So I wasn't a voyeur, but part of the story. So Morag, I want you to keep giving that clear delivery, that imagery, and all those senses and emotions together, that personal message that you brought through of how people matter. And let us have a chance to be with you more. I'm going to go through today with paying a lot more attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we have our third evaluator, Mariana Burka. Mariana?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And oh, Morag, what an honor to listen to you in real time. Thank you very much. And you started your speech with a question, which is always a good beginning. But not just that, but you tricked me to imagine myself in a sunny, sandy beach. And then I had to awake in some kind of shady beach, which eventually turned into just a suburban promenade. Wonderful tone, wonderful speak and enunciation. Your eyes always on the camera. I enjoyed it. You used your hands and your smiling face, and you are a storyteller. I was just glued to you throughout the presentation. But what I missed, that we all of us, we got way too comfortable when we are presenting online, that we are sitting. And I missed to see your body language. I wanted to see you show us how you walked down the promenade. just so we can imagine your work, your experience. And that's what I would like to see. That would be my suggestion to you, to show more of your body language. You're using your hand and eye contact wonderfully. Let's go to the next step. But summarizing it up, it's a wonderful presentation. Beautiful memories intertwined with heartbreaking remembrance of your friend. You made me put a couple of tears in, you put a couple of tears in my eyes because I felt your pain. Even though throughout your story, you were smiling, even when you were sad, you kept your composure and your beautiful smile shined through all your pain, which means you're a strong person. I really enjoyed your presentation, which was showing your love, your passion for the location, for your friend, and your heartbreak, which you shared with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariana. And I've neglected to mention that Mariana is coming from us from District 86, Leadership Speaks Advanced Club. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have Meena Mohankumar, sorry about that, Meena. She's joining us from District 121, Toast and Tales, Bangalore, India. Meena.
Thank you. A pleasant good evening to all my fellow Toastmasters and guests from India. And a special greeting to my target speaker, Toastmaster Morag. Just a beginning with lifelong promises in silence with your better half, David. It showed me the other side of yours, the love you have towards the people. It could be your boyfriend who is your boyfriend and your current husband. It showed me a lovable side. I love the recountal of timeline you had for us for Portobello Beach at Edinburgh. Sitting here in India, I could feel how Portobello Beach looks like at Edinburgh. You showed us the timeline from 17th century till date, throwing the emotions of love of couples, young and old, fun and frolic. We could hear the people and kids laughing around, enjoying their holidays and enjoying fish and cheese. People, the lovebirds enjoying fish and cheese over the night. And the ting, 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 you got us captured, the bell, the burnt smell of the candy, what's happening today. You ignited all of our senses and I could feel it sitting right here in India. And your hand gestures pleasantly complemented your storytelling aspect. The information on Portobello is something I can never forget. And what holds the most for me is the authenticity with which you spoke and the grace with which you held back your tears when you said that you had to bid goodbye to your best friend at the Portobello Beach. I love that authenticity and the grace that you held yourself. What I'd like you to stretch yourself with or challenge yourself is why Edinburgh, Portobello Beach is not having that celebrity tone now. Why ting, ting, ting is not heard now. Why are we not able to smell the burnt candy anymore? And what I also would like to suggest you is you had two beautiful elements. What's happening in Portobello all throughout the timeline, but why didn't you visit it now? Why did you just visit it 2 times? If you could blend that, Portobello is something like it stands for the people, all ages, just like the way you stood for your friend while she was on her deathbed. That would have added more meaning if you could have clubbed both the elements. All in all, I loved your recital of storytelling elements, the way you ignited our senses. Keep that going, authenticity and being vulnerable and holding it with grace. And what I like to challenge you is clubbing the 2 beautiful elements that you brought in the speech. A special place on first and last. Let each of us stand for each other like the Portobello Beach, which stood for ages together. That would be my suggestion to you. Thank you, and over to Toastmaster.
Thank you, Meena. Next, we'll have our 5th our fifth evaluator, the gentleman with the best name here today, Alex McCartney. Alex from Montreal, Canada, representing District 61 and the club Beyond Words Advanced. Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Well, Morag, your power as a storyteller is evident. It is amazing. You brought us to a special place of firsts and lasts, and you did that through the medium of poetry. Yours really was a pastoral sound poem of wonderful imagery. And I really appreciate that. I want to thank you for that, because that is likely one of the most beautiful stories I've heard in a long time. The theme of your story is the universal theme of time, of memory, and of going from a place in the past to where we are today to a place in the future. And what a wonderful way you wove that story for us. I loved your gestures when you were speaking about eating cake and cookies and sandwiches. I loved the warm embrace that your lover gave you. I love all of that. Now, how about a few little improvements? Not very many at all, but now this medium, the Zoom medium is difficult for all of us. Even I'm constrained to this little box. But perhaps if you were able even to use just a little bit more of the real estate, sometimes speaking to somebody like this, speaking to somebody like that, but also the pace. You went very quickly for such a beautiful story. I would have loved you to have focused more on some of the images. Be a little bit more languorous with your love. Be a little bit more wistful and perhaps pain with the loss of your friend. But these are just niggling points. Everything was there. I'm just totally amazed and so delighted to have had the honor and the privilege to speak with you. One other little takeaway point that I would suggest just before I wrap is that every Toastmaster starts, dear guests, dear Toastmasters. We don't need that. We don't need that. That's sort of, that's something that we can lose. But all in all, what a beautiful speech. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for presenting that to us. Back to the Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alex. Next, our sixth evaluator is Piper Shaver from District 26. Yay, 26, from the ZAO Global Toastmasters. Piper.
Corporate Club. Thank you. And thank you, Toastmaster Matheson, for sharing your speech with us today. I wanted to thank you for taking us on this illuminating and humbling journey through time, both the historical narrative and your own life's moments at Portobello Beach. In terms of structure, I really appreciated how you opened by telling us what Portobello Beach was not. It's not a sunny, warm place, and it's not a mushroom, but in taking us down both of those paths, you compelled me to hear what it actually was. I also appreciated, from a language perspective, the playful alliteration that you used at different points in time. At the beginning, you talked about sun, sand, and splashing. We heard carousing and cajoling. We heard trading and treachery. And I think when you employ engaging language that way, it keeps us engaged through the journey. And then from a delivery perspective, in the introduction before you actually spoke, we heard that in your experience, growth and confidence is the biggest single benefit to be gained in Toastmasters. And I personally am still in the very infant stages of my Toastmasters journey, and hearing the confidence with which you delivered your speech and story inspires me to keep on my journey, knowing how far one can come over the years in one's program. I agreed with a couple of the evaluators who came before me on a pacing perspective, that had you slowed down just a little bit, it would have felt like we were taking that walk on the promenade with you. But actually, until I heard them share those notes, I had no notes. I thought I was perfect. But I also, my last notes, by sharing these vivid images with us, I found myself simultaneously with you on the cold Scottish beach, while also imagining the last warm sunny beach that I visited. And so I appreciated the way you were able to take us to multiple places at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Piper. Next, we have Steve Tufel from District 38, representing Collegeville Toastmasters in Pennsylvania. Steve.
Morag, you were right. My expectations were completely off from your speech title. What I think of Portobello's is a dark, damp place. That's where mushrooms are grown. This was completely the opposite. Your authenticity really came through, and your use of language helped me to picture the beach, the splashing, the laughter of the children, the smell of burnt candy. That was fantastic. The use of alliteration in describing the history in Scotland, sailors and smugglers, trading and treachery. And how difficult is it to work in automatopoeia to a speech? I know I haven't done it yet. Ding, ding, ding. Prizes are being won. Love the use of gestures. You're talking about eating fish and chips. Perfect, spot on. I can picture that, even though we don't do a lot of that here where I live. But I would love to have heard another sentence or two about Mandy. She means a lot to you. That's what the basis of this was. I think there was a missed opportunity to talk when you described having frozen lips. We can all talk that way. Frozen lips makes it kind of cold. We've been there. I think it might have been a missed opportunity to show with gestures the timelines of people, the beginning, the middle, the end of their lives, or in some other fashion. There were a lot of great gestures throughout, but I think there were also missed opportunities, and this speech really lent itself to that. And as much as it seemed that there was good vocal variety, I think you could have had a little bit more. There wasn't a ton in there. Some of the pauses and the consistent nature of the speech, which could have broken up a little bit more with just a little bit more effort. In summary, I'd like to suggest that you keep up the use of effective language and imagery. It really draws us in and allows us as listeners to be there. You took us to a different kind of a beach, not a dark and damp one, but one where there is hope. And for that, I thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Our 8th evaluator is Margarita Marjukova, who is coming to us from Warsaw, Poland, representing District 108 and Speaking Elephants. Margarita.
Dear Morag, thank you so much for your poetic, lyrical speech. I felt like I was listening to a short story, maybe by Ernest Hemingway or some other very famous author. And as you continued speaking, I felt that this was a film, and not just any film, but it was one of those 3D films that you sometimes have the experience of in the theaters, because not only was there imagery, but there was smell and taste and all these things that evaluators before me have pointed out. So it was really an experience of all the senses. Your language is beautiful. Alliteration was pointed out, metaphors, similes as well. Thank you for involving all our senses. I think another strong point of your speech is the unexpected. I felt myself asking myself, where is this going? I was never quite sure. You made these detours starting from history, then on to this romantic story with your date, and then another story with your friend Mandy. That's a really strong point. I was in suspense all the time. I kept asking, what is the purpose? And I think your speech had a clear purpose. It's just you could have spelled it out a little bit more. As I understood it, it was the message was to value the people in your life, because sometimes they leave us and we never know when this happens. But I think for a speech, it could have been stated more clearly. In short stories, in literature, sometimes I think it's enough to just allude to some things, but Toastmasters and public speaking, I think, calls for more clarity. I loved also that you used a question in your introduction and you addressed the audience. And I felt what you could have done also to enhance this particular element was to make a pause, because when you asked the audience about the beach, what do you think of a beach? I was about to answer, and I thought maybe other people would jump in and with their ideas, but there was not much space or time to do so. So just a pause. But overall, I really want to thank you for introducing us to this place in Scotland, not a place I have been to, and it's just one of the privileges of Toastmasters that we have this international audience and we can learn so much from each other. So thank you for that, and also for a message that was universal and touching and applicable to everyone all around the world as we are today. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. And our final evaluator today is Harriet Camakill Brown from District 52, Prepared Speakers in California. Harriet.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, hello, and a very special hello to you, Morag. Thank you for taking us to that beautiful journey to Portobello Beach. Throughout your speech, what resonated with me is thinking about the seasons of life. There are seasons of life that you painted as what was happening throughout in the beach. We have the sunrise, we have the sunset. And are we paying attention to what is happening in between the seasons of our life? Or are we just going through the motions? A lot has already been said by those who went ahead of me. I want to say real quick, of course, the strengths. I just loved your descriptions. I was there throughout as you're talking about the sounds of the wave, the sand in the toes, the smell of the burnt candy. I was there with all those descriptions, the lovers hand in hand. I also love the structure of your speech, a very clear opening with a question. You had a very special way that you talked about how things were in Portobello Beach before, how they are now. Great structure. Areas to challenge yourself, like somebody already said, standing up, it kind of gives us a different energy and gives you the opportunity to use the stage even more. I want to add to that. It's not always possible that everybody can stand. And if people cannot stand for whatever reason, leaning in also makes a big impact. I thought that you did a great job with the gestures, even where you are, but I would add, perhaps when you're giving your speech, those pauses that people were mentioning earlier, especially when you're talking about your very dear friend, Mandy. I think if you had that opportunity to pause, there were some very strong moments that you are going through there. It is tough to be vulnerable in those moments because sometimes when we go back there, we can crash. But it's okay to have that human moment, to pause and let us feel that emotion with you. for us to be there with you in that journey. In summary, stand if possible, and lean in if it's not possible to stand. Keep up the vivid language, great eye contact, and fabulous storytelling. In closing, November 5th is around the corner, and this is the anniversary of your date with your now husband. I hope you're going to be doing more trips and sharing with us the lessons learned. Back to you.
Thank you, Harriet. You found yourself benefiting from the feedback from all of our evaluators today. Now I'd like to invite VerityPrice back onto the stage to give some feedback to our evaluators today and what exactly you heard from them that were strong and could be improved on.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alex. And Morag, thank you for giving such a evocative, emotional speech that these evaluators could really sink their teeth into. You've taken us all on a journey. So just a huge congrats to everyone. I thought the evaluations we've heard have been absolutely exceptional. I think it's challenging when you are going towards the end and you're hearing people saying the same thing over and over. That's now I know why we're in a locked room in an evaluations contest. And maybe the lesson for everyone there is don't think you don't need to say the compliments again. We're all learning with what Morag did well. So if you repeat it, we're all just going to learn it. So I think that's the thing. I don't mind if someone else has said it. I'm also going to say it. So that's a lesson for everyone. But I'll just start with Dorota. Across the board, warm, encouraging. You listened really well. You used the framework really well. I would encourage you to start with a powerful introduction sentence. Don't worry about those formalities. That was actually feedback from Morag from someone. Have them come a bit later, but start strong rather, and give examples of what she said, of how her speech appealed to the senses. I was missing the examples so that I could relive some of that language. And I loved your suggestion that she should pause, illustrate one of the sentences where she could have paused. So that's just an example to make it a little bit more tangible, but such a warm, encouraging evaluation. So well done. Chris, oh, I just loved your introduction. Means the sun. You've enlightened us. It was delightful use of language in your own beautiful communication style. Warm, professional, encouraging. It colored silent movie, and then you gave clear examples from Morag's speech, so that was fantastic. It was an incredible analysis of her speech with great critical thinking, very good insights for the audience and for, I'm sure, Morag to take away, and you nailed the framework. So I didn't have any notes for you. I loved what you did. Well done. Mariana, also, I mean, everyone was so warm and encouraging, and that's what we want, because Morag, I'm sure you like thinking, oh, I'm going to have a great rest of my day. It was absolutely fabulous. You gave great suggestions with examples of what Morag could do. You used the framework really well. For you, the introduction was good. It was warm, but use something from her speech related to her speech. I think that'll make your introduction stronger, and give clear examples of the strength. So again, this is dig into, if you say the language is good, give us 2 or 3 examples so that we can learn from that. And then look for something from the speech to conclude with. Not just, this was inspiring, thank you so much. Was there a bit of language that's used? I was writing down things, little silly things like, here's to many more firsts and a lot fewer lasts, or next time I'm in Edinburgh, I'm going to visit that beach and I'm going to think of you. It's a small thing that we can add in that just makes it a little bit more connected to the speaker. So that's my example for everyone who I'm saying, look for a conclusion. Mina, who's actually a member of my club in South Africa as well. So lovely to see you. Warm, encouraging. I love how you spoke to her, igniting the senses. You touched on her strengths really well. You followed the framework. You had a lovely conclusion, so you nailed that. My suggestion for you is try not get caught in the content. I felt that you got very caught in the content about the beach and what it was about. I think there was more you could have spoken about message rather than needing the beach to tie up for you. That was just a little thing that was coming through for me. So content can catch us up sometimes, but otherwise beautifully done. Alex, I'm giving a lot of evaluations here, so I hope everyone's taking it in. Also warm, encouraging, insightful, great examples of her strengths, and very gentle yet practical suggestions. I really enjoyed the way you gave her suggestions. Also, find that intro sentence. So really focus on going, how am I going to start? This is for everyone who I'm saying find an intro sentence. How am I going to start this introduction powerfully? You know, thank you for taking us on a journey of first or last. Start there, own it, because then the rest of your evaluation was fabulous. Work on summarizing. And I'm going to say summarizing matters because if you're ever competing, it's worth 15 marks on the judging ballot. And good judges should give us 0 if we don't summarize. So that's why I put it into the framework. Always work on the summarizing and find a conclusion from her speech, a little phrase, a little bit of language that she used. And again, it's just going to elevate to the next level because the meat of your evaluation was fantastic. Okay, well done. Oh, Piper. Oh, what a lovely introduction. You had such a lovely introduction. You also had a lovely turn of phrase, which I think makes it easy for someone to hear feedback, which was, I appreciated this about your speech. I appreciated this. And I really loved the way you did that. You gave clear feedback. You gave really good examples of the language she'd done well. You gave a lovely conclusion. I think you got caught up with the fact that other people had already given feedback. So you held yourself back there and you forgot to summarize. But I also think what happened, and this wouldn't happen maybe at a club meeting, but be aware of it. You started speaking to your own personal journey in Toastmasters and to her, the interview, and stopped speaking about the speech. So remember, you're focusing on the speech. But I mean, that if you're new to Toastmasters, that was a fabulous start. So well done. Steve, there you are. Loved your introduction. So warm, so confident, incredibly uplifting in the way your feedback comes across. I was feeling inspired and ready to get out there. You gave great examples. You also brought some humorous energy. So it's okay to bring ourselves to it a little bit. The humor on the ding, ding, ding and onomatopoeia, I thought that was really, really delightful. And also practical, gentle and helpful feedback. Really, again, trying to elevate her, and you nailed your conclusion. So loved it. Really, really great. Margarita, loved your introduction. I love the Hemingway, the reference to Hemingway, this idea of a 3D film. You brought your own take on it, but used it to speak about her speech in a very warm, very encouraging way. And you gave great suggestions. Again, give examples of the strengths. It's okay for us to hear it again. You know, you can never say something too much. So just back yourself next time. Don't hold back. Summarize. So I was missing the summary. Work on this, keep up this. And then always see if you can find that conclusion from her speech, or even to say, please give more speeches that take your audience on a 3D journey. So you had something powerful there. So find that powerful conclusion, and then you are going to be giving winning evaluations. All right. Thank you. And last but not least, Harriet. Such a warm introduction. I loved it. I thought you could have tightened it up a little bit, just that you could have gone into, and it really made me think of the seasons of our lives. So it could have been one sentence, but it was such a lovely introduction. You gave great examples of strengths, very warm feedback. You've got an easy to follow pace when you speak. I'm aware I'm rushing because we're trying to chase an agenda here. You gave a brilliant summary. You nailed it, and I think tied up everything you'd said, and your conclusion was rocking. I love that you gave her something to take into her life with the 5th of November. You're really paying attention to where we are right now. So I thought that was a lovely touch and absolutely fabulous. So for all of you, just please keep on giving these evaluations that elevate. It's been so lovely to listen to them. And I hope that this framework is going to help you just to structure your thoughts and still bring your brand of feedback to the speakers that you are looking to help become better speakers. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Verity. And thank you for those wonderful points and that feedback. Really appreciate it, and appreciate you being here today with us. I'd like to bring Jill up to the stage just for a little moment so that we can close everything out. I also want to go ahead and thank some of my club members today. I want to thank Jill for being our timer and Linda for our Sergeant at Arms, and AJ taking care of everything behind the scenes, helping to set everything up, Prince as well. Also want to thank all of our evaluators. Gosh, and this could be a real challenge, and you all showed up and put in and learned to grow, and appreciate your willingness, your courage to do that. JP, thank you so much for allowing us to do this with the district. Really appreciate everything that you and the tree are doing today. Morag, thank you for being here as well. It is always an honor and a privilege to have folks from international who come to the clubs and to interact with us, to help us learn, to help us grow, and to help us be inspired. And Verity, thank you for taking us on your journey as well, because this has been a fantastic hour and a half actually. And this is something that we always try to do in peak performance. We try to challenge ourselves. I'm feeling challenged right now, but being able to take that chance to learn, to grow, to elevate ourselves, to take ourselves to the peak. Now, Jill is one of our newest members. And Jill, what have you gotten back from peak performance that has really helped you grow and learn?
Very quickly, I'd like to say it is so easy in this world to live within a bubble. Even though we have access to the internet and access to the world, it's easy to live in this bubble where you're in this constant loop of hearing the same message. By joining this particular club, you get to hear voices from outside of your bubble. This is what I've gained the most, and I am grateful for being here.
Thanks, Jill. Now, that's one of the things that we do at Peak, is that we really want to practice that feedback. We want to be able to give back to our members and the community. And I want to invite everyone here to come to our next meeting, which is going to be on the 12th of November. The website should be linked to there. And I think we may have a speaking spot or two open. So if anybody wants to come to Peak and practice a longer speech, or just get a lot of feedback from a number of folks, because we don't just simply have one evaluator. We have a lead coach, and we have multiple voices to give you additional feedback so that you can really hear from a number of really strong evaluators, a couple of whom you've heard today. So I encourage all of you to come to Peak Performance. Feel free to reach out to us. We're very happy. We're here to help. We've helped a number of people with coaching sessions as they're preparing for their contest, and we would love to help you. Now, this is not the last thing that is involved in the celebration of 98th year of Toastmasters. There is another event happening in about 3 hours, I believe, a hybrid live event from California. I hope that all of you can go and join that particular event too. And again, thank you to everyone who came and participated, who did things behind the scenes that none of us were able to see your efforts, but we do fully appreciate it. And most of all, we appreciate Morag, Verity. Thank you for coming to this Peak Performance meeting today. Thank you so very much.
JP Bachman, could you please close us out? District Director from District 26, JP Bachman, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, so much. Our deep gratitude goes out to International President-elect Matheson and World Champion of Public Speaking Price. The fact that you joined us at this late hour for your time zones to join us and give us such valuable information. To all of our evaluators today, wonderful evaluations. Thank you so much. And to Peak Performance for everything that you've done to set this up. From the virtual backgrounds to the way the agenda was laid out, to communicating this to everybody, and to allowing District 26 to help you advertise this. This was such a wonderfully crafted event. Thank you to everybody who put in work behind the scenes for this. And I wouldn't be right to not emphasize what Alex said. Please join Peak Performance in their next meeting. There are many virtual clubs. Peak Performance obviously is doing fantastic work. So please join another club, because it will enrich you that much further, and it will expand your bubble, your network, the number of people who you can call friend. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. And to those in India, happy Diwali.